Arnab Goswami on the debate at 10. Presented by My 11 Circle. Powered by Green Lamb, Apollo 24/7 and Poco Mobiles.
Viewers, yesterday in his interview to me, President Zelensky spoke about the need for international guarantors. He spoke of various countries. He even mentioned India. Well, immediately after that, this morning, we had France and Italy offer to be the guarantors for Ukraine's security. That's a big step towards a conversation that needs to be had quicker. As Zelensky himself said, the conversation needs to be between him and Vladimir Putin one-on-one. All of this is happening at a time when the West is arming, if I may say, super arming Ukraine. In a couple of weeks, Ukraine will be one of the most armed, heavily armed nations in the world. What are the consequences of that for where the war is headed? And joining me today, a day after Zelensky's interview, there is a former national security advisor of the United States, and he's also been former U.S. ambassador to the UN in 2005 and 6. His third appearance on our channel, and we are delighted to welcome back Ambassador John Bolton. Thank you very much, Mr. Bolton.
Glad to be with you.
Well, thank you so much. Now, you know, these missile strikes that have happened today at a railway station in the DPR area, who do you think is behind them? I mean, both sides are blaming each other quite stridently.
Well, it seems to me almost certain that this is a Russian missile. To say that the Ukrainian government was firing missiles at its own civilians in a civil railway station would take, I think, quite a leap of faith. It's possible it's a Russian missile that misfired, but the Pentagon's estimate was from the Russian side and aimed at train stations as they've aimed at other civilian targets. And it's we don't know the exact casualty figures. I'm sure they're going to get worse. But it's, you know, it's not doing anything to advance Russia's military objectives, and it's a further disastrous reputational blow to the country for attacking civilians.
If it is indeed the Russians behind it, then it would be indicative of the fact that Russia is thinking very irrationally. At that point of time, when you're dealing with an irrational Russia, it's very important to bring the war to a close very quickly. Is arming Ukraine going to help do that?
Well, I don't think it's a sin to help somebody who's trying to defend themselves against an unprovoked aggression. And that's what we have here. And it's one of the reasons, I think, from the U.S. perspective and from NATO's perspective, that the Russian invasion cannot be allowed to succeed. I mean, it's been a fundamental premise of American foreign policy since 1945 that peace and stability on the European continent are an American national interest. This conflict in Ukraine, obviously, it's not as large as World War II, but if it continues much longer, much of Ukraine is going to look like Europe did at the end of World War II. And that's not the end of it there. What other ambitions Russia may have, what this says to China, this is a very, very dangerous period now.
Yeah, then, well, you know, you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And yesterday, Zelensky was telling me on Republic that, you know, he needs to meet Putin one-on-one. He told me thrice in the interview, Mr. Bolton. But then who's going to start that back channel? America needs to start a back channel with Russia. I mean,
But honestly, I don't think we need a back channel. Putin knows how to get hold of Zelensky. If he wants to talk to him, he will. I don't think it's going to happen because I think any objective analysis of the performance of Russia's military during the now we're just slightly over 6 weeks since the February 24 invasion, is that from the strategic level to the tactical to the operational level, the Russian military has performed very poorly. I don't mean to take anything away from the bravery of the Ukrainian forces in the war, but the real story here is the failure on the Russian side. I don't think Putin has a chance of negotiating from his own perspective until he restores the Russian military's reputation. I don't know how he's going to do it, but it's in serious disrepair at this point.
But you have the levers. You have the levers on Zelensky doesn't have the levers. You have the levers. You have the levers on,
on Putin. I wish we did. I wish we did.
You do. I mean, you have got so many economic levers. You put so much pressure, so you're the ones who have the levers. to get him to
Now,
start
look,
talking?
if we had the leverage, we would have deterred this invasion in the first place. In fact, I consider it a signal failure for the Biden administration and for NATO that we were not able to deter it. If anything, Putin is now deterring the Biden administration by convincing them, for example, that it would be World War III if we simply allowed Poland to deliver 30 Russian-built MiGs from Cold War days. What's continuing this conflict is Russia's aggression and our inability so far to help the Ukrainians roll the invaders back.
But do you think the Ukrainians should be realistic about territory that has been lost to the Russians and agree to a status quo? Yesterday, President Zelensky said, no, I want a status quo ante. I want a situation that existed before the 24th of February. Is that realistic? Because that will mean that he really has to use all those heavy weaponry given to him by the West and keep fighting Russia all out. If he wants to do that.
If Zelensky agrees to anything less, then he's rewarding Putin's aggression and I think inviting a repetition of it. We've been through this before. We're seeing 2014 played out all over again, where Russia invaded Ukraine the first time and got away with significant chunks of territory. Now he's invaded again, and I think what he can justify the terrible casualties that the Russian military has suffered to the Russian people if he gets more territory. And I think we've been through this enough times in the 20th and 21st centuries. When you reward aggression, you just get more aggression.
But if you had been the NSA today, as of today, would you have given Zelensky that security guarantee that he wants? He's mentioned that so many times. You say you're with him. If you're with him, you need to be with him, not in spirit, but in reality. Why not give him that security guarantee? And that will help the negotiation too. It will give him leverage in the conversation whenever he has that with Putin.
Well, look, you're asking me what the 21st move should be in a chess game where I think the last 15 moves by the American side have been wrong. The fact is that President George W. Bush proposed to bring NATO and Georgia into NATO on a fast track, and the French and the Germans rejected it. That's the security guarantee that Ukraine needs. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania became NATO members, and they're tiny countries compared to Ukraine, but you don't see Russia invading them. Why is that? Because they're in NATO.
Absolutely. Well, Ambassador John Bolton, it's a pleasure talking to you. This is very much on the edge, and it's getting dangerous every day. I'm sure you're keeping a close watch. John Bolton, thank you so much for speaking to Republic once again. Pleasure having you as always.
Glad to be with you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.